You're listening to Puma Podcast.
I definitely agree na exploiting siya ng narrative kasi I think the language alone, the way it spreads alone, echoes how other people try to capitalize on people's dissatisfaction with the current Marcos administration and making it a thing that this is a reason for us to call for a change of leadership or in this case, for Mindanao to be a different country altogether. So parang there's really an attempt get to exploit, to take advantage of people's real feelings of discontent and trying to turn it into outrage against the whole establishment and for you to no longer trust anyone but these voices telling you na, hey, join our side kasi ito yung solution. Ito yung nakikita naming way forward.
In 2024, digital newsroom Philstar.com found that the push for Mindanao secession was amplified by Chinese social media accounts. Over the last month, that narrative was revived again among pro Duterte pages and social media. Then, Philstar also found a bot network on X, formerly Twitter, blaming Vietnam for militarization in the West Philippine Sea. How involved is China in the narratives we're seeing about the supposed failure of national security online? This is Regine Cabato for Teka Teka News, powered by Puma Podcast. Today I'm joined by the Philstar reporter on the front line of these investigations. My sister from another mister and my fellow Chinita na hindi propagandista, Christina Chi. Chi, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always great to talk to Ate Regine.
Thank you so much talaga for coming on. Sige, Chi, could you tell us about, first of all, your 2024 investigation where you found out about how China accounts are amplifying itong message ng Mindanao secession? What did you guys find out at the time and what can you tell our viewers about it?
Mm-hmm. So in 2024, I was trying to look for signs that there were foreign attempts to kind of jump on the Duterte Marcos political fight because this seemed like, of course, this was the biggest issue then in 2024, and it was polarizing society at a very deep level. Um, you couldn't even say that all of the pro Duterte or anti Marcos voices were coming from the same group. It was really widespread, at least on social media. And what we found is a lot of the Chinese social media accounts that didn't really contain the real name that we could say are inauthentic or parang um disposable accounts were kind of trying to paint the Philippines as if it were in a civil war. The Mindanao secession keyword was not even the most prominent, but it's such that there was a kind of civil war in the Philippines and Mindanao was going to declare independence. And I think at the time that we were doing this investigation, I thought that it would stop with just trying to make the secession already a thing, like it was already permanent and no going back. But eventually I found that this kind of narrative was anchored on the familiar narrative that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was an unpopular president, that he didn't have popular support, and people were turning to former President Duterte and his daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte, as the kind of savior that would prevent or fix the civil war. So those were the kinds of narratives that were going on China's Chinese social media platforms at that time. They were using legitimate news articles from local and international media to kind of like they would put together all of these clips, all of these articles, and put it into one news video package that would show we are in a civil war. So these were the kind of content that were going out on Chinese social media platforms. And yeah, actually, I think we were able to find at least 60 posts and articles, like from a span of months, not a year, but we were able to investigate this for months.
Mm-hmm. And as we know, so this happened last year, but as we know, there's no such thing actually as civil war or an actual secession movement going to the point that it's a national threat, right? So these accounts were kind of like blowing up or basically just spreading this information about the state of security in the Philippines at the time. And it didn't actually catch on right at the time. So it was kind of isolated to Chinese social media. But what your report was about was that at least may na-record na activity na ito yung kumakalat sa Chinese social media. Now, fast forward to this whole last month na pumatok naman sa Philippine social media. Itong buzzword ng Mindanao Independence, Visayas Mindanao Independence, etc. Chichi, ano yung impression mo nung nakita mo na kinakalat to ng mga pro-Duterte pages?
Actually, I was really not surprised kasi parang in my nearly 2 years investigating influence operations or malinformation, I can say na may mga narratives talaga na ang pag-seed niya, it takes a long time before it actually catches on or is amplified by local actors. Parang ang nangyayari is may soft launch ng mga narratives, and if it doesn't catch on, maybe we could bring it up again at another time, at another issue. And maybe then it would catch on using other talking heads. So in this way, we can say that narratives do not actually evolve, but they are repackaged and repackaged again and again. So parang nung nakita ko siya na ginagamit siya ngayon, at first I actually dismissed it kasi yung, I would say that Kiko Barsaga is not, in my opinion, is not really that of a serious actor yet in terms of the influence operations in the Philippines. Pero I can see na the coordinated way it's being amplified now, meron talagang attempt to hard launch it now. Ngayon na nagka-catch on na siya.
So is it fair, you think, to deduce na etong narratives ay na-export or na, in disinformation research terms, na cross-pollinate or borrowed from Chinese social media and then lumipat siya sa Filipino social media through like pro-Duterte actors and influencers? Is that fair to deduce, you think, as somebody who's been observing this activity?
I wouldn't say na ang pinaka-root origin niya yung Chinese social media, because when I look at the posts of the Chinese anonymous social media accounts on Chinese platforms, yung mga kino-quote nila na talking heads is Duterte allies themselves and Duterte himself, which is si PRRD and si then Congressman Alvarez. So parang I would say na hindi naman din sobrang random yung pagbanggit ni Alvarez no na Mindanao, let's secede, etc., etc. You wouldn't say it's that coordinated, but you would say na there is really an attempt to see the narrative and gain support for it. So parang when these popular talking heads were spouting that narrative in late 2023, at the time, the confidential funds issue had already, targeted Sara, nawala na yun sa kanya, grabe na yung fighting nila. Parang etong Mindanao secession issue was trying to fan the flames of anger of those who were wronging Sara Duterte. So, all of this was repackaged by the Chinese social media accounts. Tapos hindi siya masyadong nag-gain ng traction sa atin, not even sa TikTok. Tapos ngayon, ni-repackage na naman siya. So, it's not exactly an export from the Chinese side to the Philippine side, and more of like, we keep feeding each other narratives and repackaging narratives na pinapasahan natin na parang volleyball yung narrative na nagbabago siya every pass.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, I would say. At ang actual, siguro magiging cause nito ay galing mismo sa bibig ng Duterte family tsaka ng Duterte allies. Okay. That being said, may pinagkaiba ba, you think, yung secession narrative na nakikita or yung reach ng secession narrative na nakikita natin ngayon itong last month compared sa yung nakita mo last year? Is it, pumapalag na ba siya this time around?
I would say na hindi siya as widespread as the other narratives pa rin na related to BBM himself or Marcos himself being attacked, because mahirap siguro for the Mindanao independence issue to gain that much traction with those outside of Mindanao. So parang alam nila, yung audience nila, na it's not all in although it is the stronghold, it's not all there.
Yeah.
And parang um, very localized pa rin or very specific pa rin yung groups na nag-spread ng narrative na to and trying to make it a thing. But what I would say is, given na Kiko Barsaga has lent his voice to this narrative, whether just because of a random urge or because there is an actual, I don't know, attempt to join this side or the voices of the Duterte side, I'm not sure. Yan ang hindi ko sure sa Kiko Barsaga thing.
Oo.
Pero I would say na mas nagge-gain na siya ng traction ngayon partly because of him. So, pero I would say naman din, goal naman ng lahat ng influence operation na eventually may organic support for the narrative. Na may mga kakapit doon kahit na hindi naman talaga sila part. Yun ang end goal ng lahat ng operation. So, I would say na siguro mas tumitindi ngayon, especially after the midterm polls, na nakita natin na hindi ganun ka-strong yung support or power ni Marcos given the results. So that
Yeah.
is just my take on it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, I think. May distinction dito, I would say, between the Mindanao secession online narrative that we're seeing and actual historical offline Mindanao secession initiatives. And what she and I are talking about here is the recent iteration of Mindanao secession that is coming specifically from pro-Duterte propagandists. And I would argue that this is very different from the historical, yung historical movements ng Mindanao secession. First of all, through forms of the various Muslim insurgencies in Mindanao. And then second of all, through other movements that were involving naman the Bisaya or the non-Muslim parts of Mindanao na offline at historically nag-fizzle out. Hindi nga nag-gain ng support ang previous Vismin attempts at independence because they did not gain that. People did not find it practical to break off like that. So, ang tinutukoy namin ni Chi dito ay itong recent na propaganda na nakikita natin.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Gusto ko lang gawing disclaimer yun. Which has been discussed recently in a South China Morning Post article that took a look at this Mindanao secession trend, citing at least 3 academics. At ang naging conclusion ng lahat ng academics na to ay, which particularly would be Arja Gire of Ateneo de Manila, Cleve Arguelles of WR Numero, and JM Luza of UP Manila. Ay yung ginagawa ng narrative na to ay tinatake advantage nila yung actual real na hinanakit at feelings ng mga taga Mindanao, feeling left out of national politics, etc., of national development. But it absolves local politicians and local political dynasties of their own responsibility and accountability for the mismanagement of governance in Mindanao. So, Chichi, nabasa mo yung article na to, and I wanted to ask for your opinion on it vis-a-vis what you've been seeing sa mga online social media activity.
Mhm. I definitely agree na exploiting siya ng narrative kasi I think the language alone, the way it spreads alone, echoes how other people try to capitalize on people's dissatisfaction with the current Marcos administration and making it a thing that this is a reason for us to call for a change of leadership or in this case, for Mindanao to be a different country altogether. So parang there's really an attempt to exploit, to take advantage of people's real feelings of discontent and trying to turn it into outrage against the whole establishment and for you to no longer trust anyone but these voices telling you na, hey, join our side kasi ito yung solution. Ito yung nakikita naming way forward. So parang, ito talaga yung major theme or yung overarching theme ng any influence operation under the Marcos administration for me na yung real feelings of discontent mo, whether on the corruption scandal, on the steep costs of living, it's really going to be exploited by a certain side, a certain group, so that you could eventually believe that there is a general loss of trust in the current administration or government. And of course, for this to be turned or converted into political support for a certain set of candidates or a certain network.
So, Chichi, what do you think is in it for China, siguro, since you were able to trace directly na may Chinese account involvement or amplification? Parang, ano yung benefit or nag-gain ng China from spreading this kind of narrative?
Mhm. On one hand, I would hesitate talaga on trying to stand in the shoes of someone who is accused of being behind all of this. Although I cannot say now that there is an actual, paper trail to say that it is coming from another country. But it is, even if it is not China linked, it is China aligned in terms of narrative. Um, Yon. Pero what is in it for another country, a foreign country, example China, to benefit from this kind of narrative? Well, a lot is to be gained from weakening Marcos' stance in Philippine society, because it all boils down again to the current situation that we have in the South China Sea, where everything is hinged on the Philippines' capability to assert its rights to its maritime entitlements. The moment that we step back and allow the narrative to weaken, allow us to kind of loosen our hold on our maritime claims, on our sovereign rights to the West Philippine Sea, sobrang bilis na kasi niyan na magte-take over ng lahat, narrative, ganyan. So talagang ang they stand to gain from the Philippines, or they stand to gain from President Marcos being seen as a leader with no popular support. That's one. And at the same time, it's also something in the domestic side, because of course, this is on Chinese social media. Ano bang mafe-feel ng Chinese citizens or Chinese people when they see these kinds of posts portraying the Philippines alongside other narratives that constantly show the Philippines as a warmongering country or an aggressor? I was able to speak to one fact checker from Hong Kong at an event back months ago. Tapos parang what struck me about our conversation is, ang isa sa unang tinanong niya sa akin is, talaga bang sa Pilipinas lahat galit sa Chinese people? And then I had to explain to her na actually hindi kami galit araw-araw. Like wala namang ditong protest every day calling to, expel all the Chinese Filipino people in this country, including myself. So parang wala namang ganon. And apparently, parang ganun kasi yung vision nila of the Philippines, na everyday we are filled by so much fury over the South China Sea situation that we are, calling for war. Pero hindi ko talaga ever siya nakita. Pero, ang connection niyan sa buong Mindanao independence issue is trying to frame the Philippines under Marcos as a country that provokes others because we have a weak leader. Parang yun yung tinatry na i-seed the narrative all this time. And every time na nire-revive siya, tulad ngayon, with Kiko Barsaga, parang ang ending niya, itatry pa rin talaga siya i-connect dun sa geopolitical situation natin.
That makes a lot of sense. Kasi parang, for Filipinos, no, at least sa ano natin, sa culturally sa atin, napaka-clear na we're just being firm with, or we're just holding our boundaries sa stance sa West Philippine Sea. At totoo naman, may mga, minsan may anti-China hate, minsan may xenophobia, gano'n. Pero I think for the most part, most Filipinos make that distinction na there's a difference between the Chinese state tsaka yung Chinese people. Kasi unlike other countries in like siguro sa Southeast Asia, parang hindi naman ganun ka, I mean, may racism, pero not as bad as some of our neighbors, I would say. Diba? So, anecdote lang, as you have mentioned also, kasi pareho tayong, medyo may Phil-Chai heritage tayo, right? Just speaking to people on the street, parang may isa akong nakasalubong, for example, na Grab driver na sobrang ilang na ilang siya sa akin at first. And this was at the height of the Pogo the Pogo conflicts nung time ni Duterte. So, English siya ng English sa akin. Nung pumasok ako sa Grab. And then, nung nagtagalog ako sa kanya, sobrang na-relieve siya. And he started ranting about yung mga pogos and everything, like, and I found that super fascinating in the sense na medyo clear sa akin na yung pagkakailangan ng mga Pinoy ay hindi directed sa race specifically or looks ng ano, but they are able to make that distinction, no? So may konting understanding ng geopolitics. So ayun, kinukuwento ko lang because I think there are parties that try to collapse these issues, to try to pit Filipinos against the Chinese people na, pero hindi yung China as a people or China as a
Yeah.
culture ang kinokontra ng mga,
As a state.
right? It's China as a state or yung actions ng China as a state, right? So that being said, may isang investigation ka pa that you looked at where you were able to find dozens of Twitter or X accounts that were blaming Vietnam and may na-uncover kang bot network. Could you share with us your findings on that?
Yeah, actually nearly 1,000 yung nakita ko dito sa narrative against Vietnam that we could say is trying to target Filipinos as its audience. Actually, when I stumbled upon this kind of influence operation, medyo slightly na overwhelm ako sa dami. Kasi it's the first time that I was able to handle a dataset that really almost made the whole Google Sheet loose. You know, yung naubusan na ng pages. Ganun
Yeah.
kasi karami. And what I see here in this narrative is nearly 1,000 posts, tapos 72 accounts. Parang ang dating niya sa akin is bot siya in the sense na iniwan lang siyang naka-on. Tapos all these months nag-churn lang siya ng the same tweets, identical scripts. Tapos yung timestamps niya halos pare-pareho ng hour or pare-pareho yung time difference. So parang someone just turned on the on button for this anti-Vietnam narrative and left it on for several months because none of the tweets or none of the accounts actually gained any traction at all. But what I do notice is there was an attempt to kind of flood the replies of local news media in the Philippines. Like I think we were able to see Rappler, GMA News, Cebu Daily News. Parang tinatry ng accounts na to na dun sa posts ng news media, dun sila magkakalat ng post na Vietnam is an aggressive country who does island reclamation. It deepens the poverty of its people, all because of its maritime ambition. Yung mga ganitong narratives, tinatry talaga nila i-seed sa replies ng media, and they were trying to revive these tweets every now and then. So parang sobrang bot-like niya na it makes me think na, again, even though it doesn't gain traction, as what Janina Santos of Double Think Club said, these could be pre-positioned assets na magpo-post sila ng ganito ngayon. Tapos kapag maging viral na, I don't know, a Philippine-Vietnam issue, doon talaga nila isi-supercharge yung posts nila. Like magta times 10. Tapos at least naka-establish na sila ng pre-positioned assets. So I could say that all in all, this narrative was really trying to make the Philippines turn to Vietnam as its real adversary in the South China Sea and not China. I am not sure why this narrative was even attempted kasi parang ang labo, 'di ba? Hindi ko ma-imagine ngayon sa Pilipinas na titignan natin yung Vietnam as our adversary at all kasi wala naman tayong maritime incidents na involved sila. In fact, we have a history na sila yung tumulong sa atin. But what I do note is that before this narrative was seeded or simultaneously, nagiging closer tayo sa Vietnam in terms of defense and maritime security. Although historically may relations naman na talaga tayo, parang medyo nag-coincide lang yung timing niya. So that was what I saw sa Vietnam narrative.
That being said, I think the Vietnam narrative, blaming Vietnam that is, it's not particularly new din. And there was an attempt already to introduce it dito sa Philippine discourse. At hindi ko alam kung kasama ka sa mga journalists na naapektuhan nito. But I wanted to share the experience with our viewers. And you have probably heard of this already, or you might have reported on it before. That around 2 years ago, a bunch of journalists, including myself, who were covering the foreign affairs beat, received these suspicious emails from at least two different email accounts with uh, quote unquote Filipino names. Pero hindi mo alam kung sino ba talaga sila, and we could not verify their identities. But basically, these two people were claiming to be whistleblowers for a Vietnamese company, and they wanted to feed journalists documents tungkol sa militarization ng Vietnam sa West Philippine Sea. At my clear attempt, I would say, for these two accounts to try to shape yung coverage ng local Philippine media, to shift the tide against Vietnam, because this was a time na medyo gumagana na yung Transparency Initiative, and a lot of journalists were going and witnessing firsthand the harassment of China in West Philippine Sea. At nung na-receive ng mga journalists yung mga ganitong emails, and I don't know kung kasama ka ba doon, Chi, sa mga nakatanggap nun?
I think I did report on that.
Oh, okay.
Naalala ko siya.
Yes. Kasi naalala ko, yung for me at least, I got 2 or 3 different emails from the same name, pero yung email mismo was different. But from the same domain. So doon pa lang parang medyo suspicious na, 'di ba? And then it had a very generic Filipino name na yung tipong pag sinearch mo sa Google, it could be anyone. But according to some other journalists na who also probed and everything, parang they got the same email pero from a different name, ganon. At naalala ko, pinakita ko siya kay Professor J. Batang Bakal at the time. Sabi
And
ko,
then he also had
one. So, yun lang. Gusto ko lang siyang i-point out because it means na, like you said, my attempt to see that kind of narrative through a different medium, through a different way, at hindi siya gumana. So, parang ginamit nila this time through like some sort of network sa X or sa Twitter. Parang ganon. Just to point that out. That being said, Chi, ano yung nakikita mong direction or like after, nagkaroon ba ng action like on the part of Twitter after you reported on this?
I think some of the anonymous accounts were taken down immediately after. And even before, actually, doon ako medyo nagulat or medyo na-weirdohan before I reported them to X. Some of the accounts, especially the one with the Russian bot shop link in their URL, natanggal siya ng X. So even then, it's either X was already, on their tails and actually saw the network, or parang medyo nare-red flaggan yung X sa kanya dun sa paulit-ulit. Yung identical script na paulit-ulit. So some of the accounts actually I noticed, kahit na identical yung post nila, sa end ng post, naglalagay sila ng 1-2, 1-3. Yung parang pang pa-differentiate ng posts. So parang halata talagang tinatry nilang i-cheat yung X platform para di sila makita. So yun yung mga nakikita kong how they were trying to evade. Pero I would say many of the accounts are still up. So parang I don't think na-capture talaga ng buo ng X. Or
Okay.
they were even trying to.
Okay. Nabanggit mo yung isang account na nag-advertise ng Russian bot service. I know about it because I read your report. Could you tell our listeners about it? Kung ano yung nakita mo at ano yung service nila?
Okay, so parang nakita ko dun sa 72 accounts na part ng network na yon, may isa na naka-follow sa isang account na yung URL niya, nag-a-advertise siya ng you can buy bots here. Tapos parang quinote-tweet pa niya ata yung isang account na trying to advertise yung services. So nung chinek ko yung actual bot seller platform, yung language niya, may isang English, may isang Russian. Pero nakikita ko dun sa other links sa website na yun, na Russian talaga yung main language niya. Tapos syempre, pindot ako ng pindot, try to i-check, ano ba yung ano nito, provenance nito. And talagang nakalink siya dun sa Russian state website, kind of URL. So parang nakita ko na parang yung ibang URL niya, parang trinay niyang other state, pero meron ding Russian mismo. So parang at this point of this report, of the investigation, di ko sure kung may mas makikita pa ako. Pero it seems na of the 72, it was only this account that accidentally or mistakenly followed an account that was selling bot services. So I think it was a mistake. And yun nga yung isa sa laging tenets natin, diba? In reporting on IOs. At one point, people will really make a mistake.
That's
So
true.
parang talagang magkakamali. And parang isa sa mga nakita kong confirming signs that this really was a bot operation.
But that's also why I think it's very careful, parang very careful tayo na to label these kinds of things as China beneficial, diba?
And not China.
Not necessarily like China. So like you mentioned, this one is a Russian, seems to be a Russian site, right? But you never really know for sure because there's also a distinction kung sino yung mga private actors na gumagawa lang nito for the kicks at sino yung mga state actors talaga. At we can only, as investigators, right, just see like a little bit of the web. And so it's just important siguro, I guess, to note that kind of nuance. But I think it's fair to say that given all the evidence, lahat to ay foreign influence operation talaga.
That's confirmed talaga. Actually, sobrang conservative ko when it comes to labeling something foreign influence operation. And ito, at least for this one, foreign talaga siya.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things you mentioned, Chi, was that hindi pa masyadong nag-gain ng traction itong secession narrative, etc., and the Vietnam narrative compared to another thing that you've been noticing, which is yung demolition job against the current Marcos administration. So yun yung patok talaga ngayon sa Philippine social media. Ano yung mga napansin mong trends and what is the lay of the land and the disinformation scene over the last few months?
I would call it actually a barrage the last few months, especially nung pumutok yung flood control issue and we had a change of leadership in Congress. Talagang it was seen as a win by certain quarters. But also, if I really took a deep dive, kind of, sa anti-Marcos narratives and the difficulty about investigating on malinformation related to anti-Marcos narratives is it is so well blended with actual real sentiment na mahihirapan ka at one point to say that these are the signs, this is coordinated and inauthentic. So what is the lay of the land in trying to look for the coordinated? Kasi meron talaga. Nakita ko na naka-anchor sila ngayon sa paggamit ng AI, sa pag-generate ng AI manipulated videos and posts na not exactly spreading false information but kind of minifying the problems of the nation at the moment. So may nakita akong isang TikTok account, hindi ko pa ito nare-report, pero isang TikTok account na puro siya AI videos ni former Congressman Dong Gonzales, very clear, close Marcos ally. Tapos in the lead up to the elections, nag-churn talaga siya ng videos na against him. Pero it was only after the elections na nag-supercharge yung use of AI, which is weird. You would expect na gagamit ka ng AI before the polls. Pero nag-supercharge lang siya ng AI nung kasagsagan na ng flood control corruption issue. So that signals to me na hindi talaga sila nag-depend masyado sa timeline ng elections. Sa pagplan ng kanilang mga campaigns, talagang grabe kasi yung opportunity ng flood control to attack the whole administration. So what I saw from this TikTok account is, hindi lang siya gumamit ng AI, pero yung comments niya, 50 to 60% is inauthentic or yung disposable comment na parang emoji lang, ganun, or one word lang. So parang inanalyze ko talaga siya and parang of all the videos, I would say half of the comments of all 23 videos are coordinated and inauthentic. So why does this matter? TikTok, kapag nag-comment ka ng marami, napupunta sa FYP yung TikTok video. And kapag nag-supercharge at the same time na sobrang bilis in a short amount of time, kino-consider siya ng platform as viral. So, medyo ano siya, kasi I think for one video, may nakita ako na halos 100 accounts. Yung name ng account is user12345. Ganon. So, parang, why would you spend so much effort attacking Marcos allies who already are genuinely criticized? parang there is really an attempt na gawing permanent yung pagkabit ng flood control sa Marcos side. So that's what I see, na parang yung whole Marcos government attempt to make the investigation their shining moment, that we are for accountability, they're trying to turn the table against them, but
Yeah.
connecting the corruption to them. And at least on TikTok, I can see that there is a lot, like a barrage of coordinated and inauthentic accounts and comments trying
Yeah.
to make it a thing.
And it's really designed, no, to catch eyeballs and to hack public attention. Is it fair to say, Chi, that etong mga accounts that primarily are na may proof talaga ng coordinated, inauthentic na activity or hacking of public attention, na gumagamit nitong mga covert campaign as opposed to organic posting? Is it fair to say that they're primarily pro Duterte?
Well, kung magbe-base ako sa data, meron kasi talagang isang video na yung comment section puro parang makikita mo first 10, we hate Dong Gonzales, tapos next 10, go Duterte. So parang at that point, ano pa bang masasabi natin, 'di ba? Pero I would say na talagang hindi na sila masyadong mag-go Duterte sa mga recent videos kasi kung flood control na yung usapan, it's enough kasi na i-attack si BBM. Hindi na nila kailangan ikabit kay Duterte.
It's completely right what you said, that my attempt to flip the script, kasi nga the Marcos admin made this whole show of which was, I think, a surprise for a lot of people, of a demonstration, quote unquote, of transparency by revealing kung ano yung mga companies, etc., which came as a surprise even to the press, right? But the narrative that seems to be winning or gaining traction online is that complicit at even nagko-cover up nga yung Marcos administration. Which I think is parang may reasoning behind that logic also, because it's also partly organic. Because totoo nga naman na ito ay isang complete government problem talaga siya. From the lowest ranking officials to the highest ranking officials to sitting senators, it's a whole of government problem, right? At doon nanggagaling yung sentiment na yon. Pero kasi yung napansin ko nga about these narratives is precisely na when they flip the script to just accuse the Marcos admin, may sacred cow sila eh. At ang sacred cow nila ay ang Duterte admin.
Exactly.
Right? And it's because they try to or parang redirect the public away from anomalies that are also traceable to Duterte admin era problems and to Duterte allies, diba? I mean, so yun din yung nakikita mo in the data so far.
Yeah, definitely. Kasi I would say that we should all be wary of any extremely angry narratives that focus only on corruption under the current administration. Because as we know, this goes all the way back even to GMA. So parang trying to, seed an amnesia, a collective amnesia of all the corruption scandals in past administrations. And also, I would note na talagang weakness ngayon ng current administration kasi yung tina-target talaga ng operations yung House of Representatives. Doon naka-center yung maraming, sa nakikita ko, at least on TikTok, Facebook, naka-center talaga siya sa House of Marcos. So, that is one weak point talaga. And I could say na nagiging organic na talaga yung narratives against the House kasi meron talagang genuine criticisms of the Philippine Congress. So, that's the barrage that I'm seeing right now. And the difficulty is that you don't really know which is the genuine, which is the artificial. But at the end of the day, does it really matter kung yung artificial nagiging feeder ng genuine? So, yun yung nakikita ko.
Okay. So ayun ha, to our listeners, watch out for things like AI generation, comment hacking, pero also yung content na may sinasantong isang side, or that overly is noisy about one side but silent or supportive of others. Siguro as a last question, Chi, what are the trends that you're anticipating seeing coming uh, leading up to the upcoming November 30 protest siguro? Yun yung next big thing that people are looking forward to. And also, what would you advise to our listeners who are scrolling on social media and who may come across yung ganitong mga influence operations?
Well, it's really very hard to say kung ano yung mga uusbong na narratives because even prior to the reporting of the Vietnam narrative or the ICC narrative, I couldn't have expected that these things would happen that would lead to these narratives. But I would say na every major protest in the Philippines, at least under the current administration, is often followed by attempts to make it seem that there is a civil war again in the Philippines or that there is a widespread collapse of government or collapse of peace and order. Meron talaga yan. So after the November 30 protest, I can expect to see once again my laptop filled with screenshots of these kinds of narratives. But also at the same time, I would say na trying to be wary of content creators, whether they are for or against the administration, that try to make this a battle of personalities. Kasi when we talk about the corruption scandal, marami talagang masasagasaan na big names. Pero it doesn't mean na merong other side na may big names na magsisave sa atin from the corruption scandal.
Okay, that's really great closing words. Thank you so much. That was Phil Star reporter Christina Chi. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. This has been Regine Capato for Teka Teka News, powered by Puma Podcast.